பரவாயில்ல அங்க எடுத்துக்கலாம்.
If you want, you can study to me with me also.
Yes, yes. எல்லாருக்குமே ஆயிடும்ல.
Because everything is written here. It is.
Okay.
We'll also give you the instructions.
Yeah, so like I say, it's just more of a basic thing. I think the thing about yeast dough as well is don't overthink it. It's not really like when I was saying to Morgan, when I first started here, they made it out to be this big mystery. Like if you do this, this will happen. If you don't do this, this won't happen. Blah 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 blah. I found dough to be very forgiving. You can really not do it well and then still be able to fix it up. It takes a bit of work, but most of the time, if you get the ingredients right, it'll just do what you want it to do every single time. And it only really has flour, yeast, salt, water, milk. That's it. That's all that it has in it. And you won't put that on YouTube. So the milk is like the secret ingredient to it. That protein actually really gives the dough a real depth of.
I'll tell you one thing, even our Indian dish, like we call the chapati,
Yeah.
we do add milk to
Milk
it,
in
so
it.
it gives a good texture to it.
It is. And I did all this research, and they were going, no, that amount of milk won't make any difference. It won't do anything at all, and they're all wrong. So because I tried to make it without milk, and it was nowhere near as nice. So what we're doing today is just what's called an 8/10 of a batch. So we're not doing a full batch because we've already got some dough in the mix there. So I've got to do two. So I've got to do 2 batches today in order to press everything out, and then also to make enough dough for tomorrow, so that I don't have to come in here until about 3:30 in the afternoon. So that way it's already made, it's already done. I can just come in, press it out, and get it done. The making of it is the challenging part, because we're then shut on Monday and Tuesday, so I don't need to really make any dough. Depends if we're busy tonight, so we'll sort of see what happens. So I've got a little matrix up here of what we need to add. So we're doing an 8 batch, right, which is going to make 72 balls plus those ones that are in there. So the first bit that we add is the yeast, and that's 160 grams of that. So you just cut the yeast off. You don't have to do anything to prove it or get anything right. The other thing is, don't be too worried if you're a little bit off. It's a little bit over or a little bit under, because it won't really matter. So then the yeast just gets thrown into here. Now, doesn't really matter either what order you put it in. The reason that I put in all the yeast and the salt, do it in that way, is because in the past I put everything in and then turned this machine on and it didn't go. So then I had to get someone up to repair it, and then I had to pull all of this stuff out and throw it away. So that's what I tend to do, is just make sure that the machine's working first. And that's why I add the ingredients in when we do. So there's just a switch on the side here for that, and then it just starts turning around. So that's the yeast added. Now the thing is, with the difference between dry yeast and fresh yeast, apart from the flavour, is that you only need half the amount of this. So if you ever run out of fresh yeast and you want to use dry yeast, and up here you see it says 160 grams, you only want to use 80 grams of that, right? It's only half the amount. If you use the same amount of this, it just goes crazy. So I only ever put a tiny little bit of this in on top of it, just to help it grow a little bit, because fresh yeast isn't as reactive as dry yeast. Dry yeast is very, very reactive.
So every day it's like whenever you make the dough, you add a little bit of.
A little tiny bit, but you can get away without it. I'm just in the habit of doing it.
In the bread making, we use dry yeast. In how we use it?
See, the thing is, dry yeast lasts a lot longer too, right? So that pack of fresh yeast, that's only going to last you maybe 2 weeks before it'll go. It's not a use by, but it's best before it won't be as reactive. But you know, it's only $3 for a thing like that, so we don't use it all the way. All right, so the next one is salt that we add in. So with the salt, we use like hands of salt to do it. if we were French, everything would be measured and weighed, but we don't. We just throw it in. So we use for an 8 batch of salt is 1.5, just a bit over 1.5 hands of salt. So it's only a preservative. It does add a little bit to the flavour, but you can over salt it. So don't put too much salt in. Just one, and then just a little bit in there. It's more to act as a preservative for it, but it does add flavour to it as well. So have put too much salt in the dough, and you can really taste it. So you have to be a bit careful with that. Okay, so we've got our yeast, we've got our salt, we've got our old dough in there. The machine's working, so now we can start to add some of the fluid and liquid into it. So when we're doing an 8 batch, we add in 5.6 litres of water. When you're doing this is to make sure you count everything, because otherwise you lose count and then you're trying to work out what to do. So my suggestion is don't try and multitask when you're making dough. So if you're a girl, so you'd be able to multitask, I can't, right? So I have to concentrate entirely on this the whole time, just making sure that it's got all, because otherwise you go, that's not the right amount. Then you're trying to add in things, add that to try and get the consistency, and you don't want to do it. So this holds 2 litres. 2 litre mark's about there, but it doesn't matter. Around about the top, so it's 2 litres. So that's 2. We want to get to 5.6, so that's the 1 litre mark there. That's about 1.5, so just a little bit over the 1.5 mark. So thereabouts sort of 5.6, so that'll take you to 5, and then that's 0.6 just over the top there. Again, I try not to get too hung up if it's a milliliter here and there. So that's all the water added in, so the next bit's the milk, so I'll just go grab that.